Quincy Troupe is on the line. He'll be here in South Florida this coming week at the 3rd Annual Palm Beach Poetry Festival at the Old School Square Cultural Arts Center in Delray Beach. Quincy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, I don't interview poets that often. You're a full-time poet.
I'm a writer and a poet. I'm a poet first, and then I write a nonfiction and fiction, and then I'm an editor. I used to be a college professor, so.
I see. Well, how big is poetry in your life?
Poetry is very big because I think of myself as a poet before I think of myself as anything, because poetry is very important to me. It's very important as an art form for me, and a way to express myself, especially in the language.
Why is that? Why is it? I would think it's more difficult than writing a novel.
No, it is difficult. It is difficult, but I wanted to be a musician at one time, and I wanted to be a painter at one time, and I've always thought that through poetry I can kind of express myself as a musician through the rhythms and the rhythms of the language and the music in the language in the poem, and also I can express myself by creating visual images in the poem through metaphors and similes and just the images in the poem. So I can kind of accomplish both things in poetry. I imagine poetry could be songs, but can songs be poetry as well? Poetry can be song, and song can be poetry. But if you're trying to talk about lyrics are for songs. And there are some people like Smokey Robinson and Bob Dylan and a few others who write very, 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 very good poetic lyrics, and they're close to poetry. A lot of rappers do, and a lot of other lyricists write lyrics that are very close to poetry in terms of the kind of compressed and the economy of language, and also the form, and also the depth of the whole of the lyric.
When you're presenting it to an audience, a song or a rap song is a lot more accessible than a poem.
Well, it's according to who the poet is. It's according to who the poet is, and there are some poets who think that poems are crossword puzzles, and they think that they're like they should be puzzles, and they should reference back to all kinds of academic scholarship and history. And that's okay. I don't mind that. But I like. Then there are other poets who express themselves in a way that's more accessible to audiences, like Allen Ginsberg or Amiri Baraka or Gawi Canal or W.S. Merwin. I can go down the list of people. Sharon Oates, a whole bunch of people. I include myself, and Derek Walker. I include myself in that. Although mine can be complex and difficult at times, just like every other poet.
Yeah, going to school as a youngster, that turned me off to poetry because I didn't understand most of it.
I understand. A lot of people don't understand it. I got relatives that buy my books, and I go in their house, and they have it there, and it's dust on the top of it because they read it and then they didn't read it no more. And they're relatives. They're people I grew up with, and then I have friends like that. But then I have a lot of people who avidly read my books of poems and quote lines to me. When I go to poetry readings, and I do a lot of them, people quote lines to me. They come up and tell me lines, and some people shout out some of the lines.
Well, that must make you feel really good.
It does. It really makes me feel good. I mean, because that means that they've read my work closely. They're influenced by it, and I think that because I was on Bill Moyer's the
Power of the Word.
The Power of the Word. I was on there. I was on that first one, and our segment won an Emmy. And it goes into the schools all the time to this day. And so I think that probably I'm a little bit more famous and well known than many other poets because of Bill Moyer's and because of 2 or 3 other poetry programs that have been aired in the United States in the last 15 years.
Quincy Troupe is on the line. Quincy's going to be in South Florida to do a public reading this Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. at the Delray Beach Old Square Cultural Arts Center, part of the 3rd Annual Palm Beach Poetry Festival. Quincy will also be doing workshops throughout the week as well. And if you'd like more information about the Poetry Festival, palmbeachpoetryfestival.com. Well, Quincy, let's hear a poem.
Okay. This is an odd poem because this poem is called Vichyssoise, and the reason I wrote this poem is because I was fascinated by the word, and but then I ate the soup, and the poem speaks for itself. You always liked the word Vichyssoise, the way it sounded, rolled around your tongue, was a puzzle, an adventure, the way it sent your mind flying off in space, wondering where all those different chic sounds came from. Fishy C syllables swishing inside your mouth like wishes, then yeasting off endings, as in a Jimi Hendrix wah-wah riff. The word brought to mind soirees, colors swirling around in space. Then you found out it was a soup of leeks and potatoes, creamy cold stuff. You didn't like anything creamy in those days, ending your romance with eating the word, though you still love the sound, the hissing articulation of pissing three syllables tacked onto a vixen's breath at the beginning of the word, a woman ordering cheese in the middle, closing with an ah sound with a little fizz. Today, you write a poem about the way the word swishes through the air, evoking a shopping list of haute cuisine attitudes. Connects with your ear. It's also very pleasant now, though you still haven't been able to stomach the cold, highfalutin, creamy soup so many care for. Yet you give thanks to whoever whipped the chili stuff up, gave it its handle so it could finesse its way, skimming through lips with its clever twisting pitches, sound whispering light as three sea waves crawling in, quiet as foam soaking into hot sand under the sun's tongue, is a hissing, sleight of hand, tricky sliding word, and anapest in its accentual syllabic prosody, so right, so haughty-taughty, so upper class. You can drop it at high-end parties with people who care about such things. You can think you're in the hip crowd, though some may wonder why you never raise even one spoonful of the white cold stuff to your lips, even though you pronounce the word like a native, like an initiate. Can you say Vichyssoise?
Quincy Troupe. Quincy, that's a funny poem.
I thought so. I had fun writing that poem. Because I had thought about it for a while. And because when I first heard that word when I was young and growing up, I said, oh, that's what a great word, And, my mother always read poetry to me on Saturdays, so I was really into poetry. But I loved the way the word sounded. And then I found out it was a cold soup. And back in those days, young people don't like cold soup.
Yeah. Do you like it now?
I can eat it, but I guess because my some things that I didn't like okra and greens and a lot of other foods that I didn't like back then. I've grown to like.
Have you written poems about them?
I'm writing about them now. And I write about basketball. I wrote a very famous poem about Magic Johnson, about the basketball player, and about Michael Jordan. And in this collection, my new collection, The Architecture of Language, I have a poem in there about Tiger Woods. The shot he made at the Masters. That incredible shot.
Well, there you go. The Architecture of Language. You're talking all poetry there. It sounds like it's going to go over my head again.
No. The Architecture of Language, maybe it will. The Architecture of Language is a 18-page poem about the architecture of language, how language is put together in so many different ways. I don't just tell you. I try to show you in a way, how it's all put together. And it's a very ambitious poem, very complex. It's in 11 parts. It ranges all over the United States and Africa and the West Indies and all kinds of concepts and the war in Iraq, the Hurricane Katrina and a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, you mentioned a lot of stuff there, but are you trying to accomplish something with your writing?
No, I just want to write the best poem that I can. I don't set out with a political agenda. I really don't. I don't set out with a political agenda. Although the poem might turn to politics, and I do have really strong political beliefs, but I don't set out to say I don't like this person or that person because of their political beliefs. I try to not really deal with religion at all. Because religion is a very problematic situation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should be able to worship whatever they want. Although I think a lot of people don't understand that and don't believe it. And in this country and around the world, look at Iraq. Look at what happens all around the world. And but I try to stay clear of religion because I think that everybody has the right to worship in their own manner and whoever they want.
Quincy Troupe is on the line. You could see him read his poetry Wednesday evening at the 3rd Annual Palm Beach Poetry Festival. Quincy, you've been writing for a long time. Were you able to take advantage of the craze of poetry slams?
I don't participate in poetry slams. I never have participated in a poetry slam. I made up my mind a long time ago. Although I wanted my poetry to be musical, and I wanted it to be rhythmic, and I wanted it to be somewhat accessible. I did not want to participate. I wanted to write a poem that would be really well crafted and really meant for the page rather than a record or in the air. And I don't believe in competition. Although I was a heavyweight champion of poetry twice. I really don't. But that was a different kind of thing. It's not like a slam. Okay. A slam is like you make it up on the spot. The heavyweight poetry in Taos, which is the premier event like that, you go there and you pick 10 poems. You pick 9 poems and you read them against another poet. And then you have judges, and then the only one you make up is the last one, which is the 10th poem. And they give you a topic, like they say blue, and then you have to make a poem up about blue using the word blue.
I mean, spontaneously?
Spontaneously, right on the spot. Right on the spot.
Well, that doesn't seem very fair.
Well, it's fun. It's like a musician. That's what I said. And most of the poets who do really well in that, like and won championships, like myself and like Ann Waldman and Victor Hernandez Cruz and Intozaki Shange and a number of really other famous poets were poets who were able to improvise and make things up right on the spot.
Well, did the poetry slams introduce a whole new audience to poetry? There's some good that came out of that.
No, I didn't say it didn't. It did. It introduced a whole new audience to poetry. And then what it does, those people realize, as I feel, that poetry slams, I appreciate them, but in the end, if you're going to be a poet, it's a dead end. It's a dead end because as you get older, you want to do something else besides slam. You want to publish a book. You want to publish a book, or some people might want to make records. I publish books. I want to publish books, and most poets that I've talked to always eventually want to publish books, and so slams do not lead to the publication of books. In my opinion, there are people who might disagree with that. I don't know any, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2 or 3. Patricia Smith comes to mind, and she's coming down there. Patricia Smith comes to mind, and there are maybe a couple of others that have published books, that wrote poetry that was really great for the page that somebody would want to read. Well, there might be others coming in the future, but I think that slamming over time leads to a dead end. I think that you have to learn how to craft a poem, just like you have to learn how to craft a painting or a song or a tune or it's like anything. It's like architecture. That's architecture of language. It's like making a table. You make a table. The table has to be firm and stand on its 4 legs and be strong. And that's where a really good poem has to be well crafted. It has to be well crafted in terms of language and everything. So
how important is the delivery of it?
Delivery of it when you do a public reading is very important, I think. There are a lot of people who think that, well, I can't read this poem. I have to read it like it's a boring poem. So everything, you can make anything. You can make the telephone book happen. if you read it in a way.
Well, there's been some great poets who can't read poetry.
That's true. I'm not saying that's not true, but I'm saying when you go to a reading to read and an audience comes to hear you, I think that you owe it to that audience to read the poems in a way that are not for one, that the poems are interesting, they are enjoyable. They're enjoyable. Let's face it. I mean, when a poet does a reading, it's a form of entertainment, even though a lot of people don't want to think about it like that.
I think poetry slams brought that into light.
No. It was happening way before then.
Oh, okay.
It was happening with Langston Hughes and Allen Ginsberg and the Beats.
Mm-hmm.
And, Dylan Thomas was a great reader. So was T.S. Eliot. So was Pablo Neruda. You can go back 50 years, you know what I mean? Those slams were around then. And there are poets who've been, Amiri Baraka is a great reader. So is W.S. Merwin. So is Galway Canal. I can go down the list of people who can really read their poems. And it's really Derek Walcott, who won the Nobel Prize. Really great. Neruda, who won the Nobel Prize. Great reader. So you got poets who are great readers, but then you got poets who are great poets on the page writing it, and they are a sleeping pill when you hear them read.
I once heard Lawrence Ferlinghetti speak, and it was hard to take.
Yeah, well, he's gotten better.
Oh,
he and I are going to be in Columbia together. We've done a couple of readings together, Lawrence and I, and he's gotten a lot better.
Wait, no, I thought he passed away.
No, the greatest poetry festival in the world is in Medellin, Colombia, and it is between July 15th and July 22nd every year, and 250,000 people came last year. I was there last year, and I'm going back again this year. They invited me back, and Lawrence is going to be there, and Lawrence Ferlinghetti is going to be there. Derek Walcott, the Nobel laureate, they've had all kind of Nobel laureates there at that reading. And, you go out there and there's 10,000 people out there looking right in your face.
Yeah, did you ever imagine that would happen with a poetry festival?
No, I didn't. I never imagined. I have been to some big ones. The Dodge Poetry Festival in New Jersey is a great one. They have like 10,000 people at the Dodge Poetry Festival in New Jersey, Waterloo, New Jersey, and I've been there a couple of times, and that's a great venue.
Quincy Troupe is on the line. He'll be here for the 3rd annual Poetry Festival, Palm Beach Poetry Festival in Delray, and you'll be leading a few workshops. What happens at those workshops? Well,
the people bring their poems in, and I critique them. I tell them what's wrong and tell them what's right. Tell them how to improve it. And I give them a history of poetry. Talk about poetry a little bit so that, hopefully they can improve.
There's a lot of stuff going on this.
And then we'll have a panel discussion about what our favorite poems are and read those poems one night. I don't know what night that is.
PalmBeachPoetryFestival.com for more information. This will be at the Old School Square Cultural Arts Center in Delray Beach. And Quincy Troupe, how about one more poem?
Oh, you want me to read one more poem?
Sure.
Oh, okay, let me find one. I want everybody to go out and read my book, The Pursuit of Happiness.
Is that a recent book?
Yeah, it came out. You know Will Smith's movie?
Uh-huh.
You know the movie?
That's out right now.
Yeah, it's out now.
And that has something to... Is that your book?
I wrote the book with the guy. I wrote the book with the guy who Will Smith plays.
Okay.
In the movie.
Did you have any input on the movie?
No, but that's between them. But I did. I
mean, you had to sell the rights to the book, or was that the guy who was in?
No, that's his. That's it.
I see.
I wrote the book, and I wrote the book, and so.
Well, has the movie helped sales of the book?
Yeah. I mean, and the book has helped sales. Have helped the movie. I mean, this past Sunday, January 7th, we were the #1 bestseller paperback on the New York Times.
Wow.
And
well, I don't know the fellow's name.
His name is Chris Gardner.
Chris Gardner. And how did you find out about him?
He came and found me because of the 2 books I wrote on Miles Davis. I wrote the 2 books on Miles Davis. I wrote the autobiography of Miles Davis with Miles Davis, and I wrote Miles and Me, which, by the way, is going to be a movie this year. And I did write the screenplay for that.
Well, that's incredible, Quincy. That's
you're getting in all my stuff. Now I'm going to read you this poem about the shot. Because this is
Michael Jordan.
No, this is the shot for Tiger Woods.
Oh, Tiger Woods, right?
Yeah, at the 2005 Masters, he made this incredible shot. And you down there in golf everybody likes golf. Not everybody.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows Tiger Woods.
Yeah, the Tiger Woods. We watched him loft a chip shot from the rough on the 16th. The ball dropped from the sky like an aspirin in the middle of the green. Then we saw it move right like pure magic, like a basketball player pivoting before making a deft move to the hole. This spinning little white ball made a beeline in the direction of the cup. Crawling over the green, it had 20/20 vision. Everyone watched, held their breaths. When it got to the lip of the cup, it lingered, trembled at the edge like it was afraid of heights, before dropping like a ball of sugar into a cup of black coffee. Then the crowd erupted as he kneeled, then stood, ramming his ball fist into the sky, celebrating having been blessed by a miracle. Cameras caught him in his signature logo, and everyone knew then the rest was pure glory.
Quincy Troupe. That's great. Thank you so much, Quincy.
You're welcome. Thank you.